Hello and welcome to Zerocarbonista Series 6, The Cow in the Room. I'm Ian Collins, and this is your number one go-to environment-based podcast. If it's green, it's in. We should have a kind of like a violin effect here, Dale, because it's the last one of this series.
Yeah, but let's save it till the end in case either of us breaks down in tears.
We get emotional.
Yeah, could happen.
I mean, it could happen. But it might be the last one, but it doesn't mean that we're not crammed full of green-based delights. Chocker, I would say.
Chock full of green stuff.
Shall we have a delve into your diary then, Dale, to start with?
It's been busy.
What's been happening? I know you did a big thing on Times Radio, didn't you, on wealth tax this week?
Yeah, that was actually a bit of fun. Some fella, I think he's a journalist, Fraser Nelson, I think his name was. He was on the other side of the debate, and it was good fun. And the next day I met Chris Stark, the net zero supremo.
What's the deal with Chris Stark? Give us a bit of background on Starky.
I think he's got a really exciting name, Chris Stark. I'm reminded of Iron Man,
It's definitely got a kind of it's the pseudonym for a superhero, right?
I think so, and he's a net zero superhero. I reckon. He knows his stuff. We had a great conversation. It was the day the Lionesses were just up the road, actually. Yeah. Celebrating the cup win, which is fabulous. Anyway, I had a great chat with him and shared a bunch of ideas. Got a follow up, and I'm just full of hope, actually, that I might have found the right person in government to listen.
Good work. Well, that's good to hear. But then on Tuesday this week, you sort of, to coin a phrase, slutted your way around the podcast spectrum by appearing on the Guardian podcast.
But I was thinking of you all the time, Ian. It's okay.
I hope so, yeah. I mean, I very nearly showed up. I was tapping at the window. Let me in.
Yeah, there's a fellow called John Harrison, the Guardian, and I met him at Glasgow this summer and kind of, went and said hello because I'm actually a fan of his work. And I was on his podcast Tuesday, I think you said it was. So I'm going to go with you on that one.
Good work.
And it was a great chat, really, really great chat. We strayed into some, dodgy, dangerous territory, I would say, on Palestinian action. I had to put out a disclaimer. But let's see how they edit it. It should be fun. It won't be out for a couple of weeks, but it's coming out.
Well, you that almost happened the other week, didn't it, on LBC when Tom Swarbrick, frankly, brilliantly said to you, "Do you support?" That was
slick, wasn't it? That was
very good. Do you support, or are you a member or whatever? Which you could have kind of incriminated yourself, and we could now be possibly doing this podcast from Wormwood Scrubs.
That's right. And some of the big news today, there's been a lot of big news this week, but today the High Court have granted permission for the founder of Palestine Action to challenge the proscription.
Yeah. And they make, there's a lot of word on the legal show. I was listening to a couple of lawyers on this, saying they will, the great possibility, big possibility they will win this.
Yeah. I mean, international lawyers, within the UN are saying actually they don't think this is in accordance with international law. So we'll see what happens. I think it's a good thing. I think it is a mystifying decision. Many of us can't understand it, and I'm looking forward to hearing what the court have to say about it.
Yeah, we will see. Let's move then to right-wing nuts. Who have you selected this week, Dale?
Well, it's naughty Nigel, actually. Mr. Farage.
Yeah, but he's your mate, really, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. But, I don't take it personal or give it personal. But what he's done, he's on Sky, and he's claimed that since Reform had been elected somewhere, I don't know, somewhere up north, I can't remember the place, they've already saved £1 million off council costs, I think software licenses or something.
Yeah. He
made this claim on Sky. It got fact-checked, and on contact with reality, it just evaporated. The council were like, no. It was a £1.85 million contract, and we signed it as it was. There was zero saving. And when challenged about this, and this is quite hilarious and confusing, I mean, I think intentionally confusing, Reform just said, it wasn't the national Doge unit, this Musk-like mini-me thing. It wasn't the national Doge unit. He said it was the council's version of the Doge unit, as if it's got nothing to do with them, and avoiding the simple fact that Farage gave a wrong number on national TV.
I think you're being very cynical here, Dale.
It was the wrong number. It was false.
It might have been the right number in the wrong place.
I'm sure it was an accident. I'm sure it was
right
an
number from a different time. I don't know.
yeah, maybe in the future they'll save £1 million. I don't
Be
know.
a
Maybe that's what
future
he meant
number.
to
That's
say. That's
exactly
what
it.
we're going to save £1 million, honest Gov. But no, he said we already done it within days. We've saved £1 million. Well, that was fake news, Nigel.
Well, he's made it to your choice this week for right
Yes,
wing nut.
yes.
There is a big story. One of the biggest stories of the week, only a couple of days ago, was Starmer's words. Keir Starmer's words that the government will recognise Palestine as a state. There's certain criteria that go with it, but that's the broad brush.
Yeah, and I think it was becoming quite critical. I think for me anyway, I was really struggling with what we in the West are allowing Israel to do. Every day we hear of and see these atrocities. That the UN have said there is a famine in Palestine now. It is caused by the Israeli government of Netanyahu, and of course on top of that we've got the complete destruction of the Gaza Strip and the murder of so many people. If you can hear horns honking outside, that's actually for a pro-Palestine protest outside my office where we
Did you
hung that.
arrange this?
No, no, I didn't. But we've hung that off big flag, haven't we, for the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, still there.
And it's become a place where people are coming to wave Palestinian flags and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But anyway, so what Starmer did was really interesting. He didn't just say he was going to do it. He was going to recognize Palestine in September when the French do. And we'll be the first G7 countries to do that, by the way, which is quite a big deal. He said he was going to do it unless Netanyahu did about 4, maybe 5 different things. Ceasefire, hold the ceasefire, undertake not to annex the West Bank, all kinds of stuff, each one on their own, kryptonite to Netanyahu. He will never do them. So it's inevitable that Britain will recognize Palestine in September. I think that's fantastic. And not before time.
Does it? I mean, the criticism is that it's a win-win for Hamas because they can't lose on this.
Hamas, right? The Israeli army are murdering women and children and men as well, civilians, all of them. They've imposed a famine on the country. I mean, Jesus, we haven't seen such abuse of a group of people since the Second World War. It's not about Hamas. This isn't about Hamas. This is about Israel controlling itself. And actually, well, I think they are in control. This is what Netanyahu wants. He's openly trying to drive the Palestinians from their country. I mean, none of this is a victory for Hamas. This is it's a loss for Israel.
And it's a story, of course, that it's not going to go away. So this will be kept under scrutiny over the coming weeks and months. And
it's worth saying it's a small step, really. I mean, it feels like a big step to so many of us that have been saying, why hasn't it been done already? But really, it's a small step because Palestinians need their own state. Israel opposes that, and they're mighty aggressive and violent about that in pursuit of their own aims, which is to own the same piece of land. So this isn't by any means a big step in that context, just a big step in the context of where we've come from, which is almost nowhere, where international law just doesn't apply to Israel. We just sit and kind of, twiddle our thumbs
And it is worth saying there's a growing number of countries who are adopting that position. I mean, famously France, but it's not just France.
No, it's 140 countries of the world so far. The UN flies the flag as well, but no G7 nation. The G7 is like France, Germany, Britain, Canada, I think it is, kind of big, important countries. Well, they like to think so. We like to think so, but economically for sure. And it just means something when you get recognition at that level. It does mean something. Netanyahu he's mightily pissed off. You can see that. And he claims it rewards terror, which is incredible. I mean, the man is like Trump. He's got everything back to front. The terror has been coming from him and the IDF. And this is the response. And it's not a reward. It's a slapdown.
And of course, we will, naturally report back on this each week on the podcast as it develops. And we'll see where it goes by September. I think stuff will happen before September, but we'll wait and see.
Yeah.
Let's move to this one, Dale. The Battle of Beanfield, and you've got some thoughts on. I mean, explain what the Battle of Beanfield is and why it should be included in an inquiry. What's happening?
Yeah, I think we talked about it before on this podcast. I did a couple of talks at Glastonbury about it. It's the 40-year anniversary of it this year, and it was just after the cops went and trashed the miners at Orgreave. A few months later, they came and did the same to the travellers on the way to Stonehenge. And that's the reason why I'm saying sorry, everybody probably already knows, there's a public inquiry being announced into Orgreave, and it's the reason I'm saying, look, just join the Beanfield into this, because it was the same cops with the same tactics, and the same cover up as well. And so it makes sense to have the same inquiry, because the people in the dock are going to be the same people.
Yeah. Any development on that? Any chance of that being the case? So is it wishful thinking?
Everything I do is wishful thinking. Some of it comes to be.
Well, that's the point, isn't it?
Yeah, I've written a letter to Yvette Cooper, Home Secretary, to make the case. We made the case to the people behind the Orgreave inquiry. They've been campaigning for years. It's like Hillsborough. You just wait 40 years and then suddenly, a bit of justice appears. And we've been getting a great reception, because it is super logical. There was a great lawless event there that's gone unpunished. 500 people arrested, the biggest mass arrest since the Second World War, and all kinds of violence and lawlessness and property destruction, and it was wanton, and it was directed from the very top by Thatcher. Yeah. And we need an inquiry to get into this, partly to make sure it can't happen again.
Let's move to the kind of domestic energy world, something you know loads about. Interesting headline. Centrica boss calls for new customer ban on octopus energy. What kind of crazy headline is that? What's happening here?
It's an interesting story. So Ofgem have put in place these financial rules for energy companies. You have to have a certain amount of money in the bank for every customer that you have. And I think it's 3 companies that failed the test. One of them is currently undisclosed. We don't know who it is. The other one is so tiny, it's just incredibly irrelevant in this discussion. And the other one is so incredibly big that it's absolutely relevant. It's Octopus, the biggest energy supplier in the country now, with millions of customers, 12 million it might be, and they're £1 billion short of meeting the Ofgem target. And they say, we're not short of the target at all, but they clearly are. But what they're referring to is that Ofgem have said, well, basically they've been put in special measures. They've come up with a plan that says they'll meet the target at some point in the future, but none of that has been disclosed. And the boss of Centrica, who probably are their biggest rival, has just come out and said something I think is fairly fair, that the rules should be applied properly, should apply to everybody. Sorry. And the rule is, if you fail the test, you're not allowed to take on new customers until you meet the test. But that's not being applied to Octopus.
Yeah, I mean, that's not an angle on it, is it? That's a truth. I mean, it's not a version of events. It's literally what's written down, and everyone plays by the same rules.
Yep. There it is.
It'd be like claiming a football team is allowed to suggest they've won when they've lost.
Yeah, because we're going to score a goal in a minute.
Yeah, in a minute, or maybe over coming matches.
Who knows? But we will score a goal, and then everything will be okay.
Interesting solar panel.
I like that one.
So yeah, interesting solar panel story, Dale. Which kind of the reason I think this is good to include this is because it builds on something we've talked about for ages now, and that is how corporations get involved in solar panels, and bearing in mind these often have big supermarkets and big warehouses, perfect places to unintrusively put panels, and the co-op have stepped up to the plate.
Yeah, so the co-op have bunged a load of solar panels on a warehouse somewhere, 2.5 megawatts as far as I can tell, which is, it's a decent old size, but it's a big old warehouse. And I'm a bit like, meh, do you know what I mean? I think we do have a lot of warehouse rooftops, and businesses should step up and install solar. It's in their interest anyway. Like, right, you're going to save money if you install solar. That's a fact. It's a good investment. So I'm not excited by this story, I have to say. I'm sorry. But...
Well, it says the reason I'm not necessarily interested in it, because I'll take your steer on it, but the 2,500 megawatts, MWH, what does that stand for? Megawatts?
Megawatt hours.
Megawatt hours. I mean, most people, when you hear those kind of numbers, I don't know whether that powers a town or my electric bike. What is that in real money?
Do you know what? I think that's a typo from whoever put this together. I'm just guessing here, but for every kilowatt of solar that you install, you get about 1 megawatt hour out over a year. Pretty much doesn't matter where you live in Britain. And this says 7,000 solar panels, and they're probably like 400 watts each solar panel. So we're looking at just shy of 3 megawatts probably. So
2.8.
I reckon,
2.8.
Exactly. But
Based on your maths, that's
no,
all.
absolutely, I can do the maths. But in that case, I reckon this should read 2.8 gigawatt hours.
Okay.
And that's even more complicated than explaining what a megawatt hour is. Well, it's not really. It's got 3 more noughts on the end.
Okay. But will it power my bike or a housing estate?
Oh, I see. Yeah, yeah, right. That's a good question. So a typical house uses 3 megawatt hours. So we're talking about nearly 3 gigawatt hours.
Yeah.
So that's 1,000 homes.
Okay. A year, a day,
Yeah, yeah. No, a year, yeah.
a lifetime.
Yeah, if only.
But if you got, I mean, the point is, I suppose, that, lots of people, when we do phone-ins on this, they say, well, hang on, what about you've got schools, you've got supermarkets, you've got hospitals. These are all big, by definition, they're big warehouses. Those big Amazon warehouses are the size of a small town. You start whacking that onto lots of buildings. Does it begin to achieve the result? Or is that a kind of, I don't know, is that cheating the system? Does it divert responsibility only to those particular groups?
No, it's avoiding bringing electricity all the way down the system to the end user. Make it where you need it is the best thing to do. And, there's a role for our houses in this as well. We've published a study called the Rooftop Revolution, showed that 17 million homes could have solar power. And if we did it, put solar panels on 17 million homes, we'd make 13% of all the electricity the whole country uses in a year, which is 25% of the gap between where we are now and 100% by 2030. We don't have to wait in a grid queue, and it will give millions of people a share in the green economy. So it's one of the things I've been lobbying for, one of the things I mentioned to Chris Stark this week. And I just want to say, nobody should pay any attention to all the numbers we just talked about in relation to the co-op project, because gigawatts and megawatts and it could be a pile of shit.
We're working on hypothetical data here.
It's like, I'm looking at that now and I'm like, 3,000 megawatt hours, I don't know. And it's easy to get lost in numbers. So I'm just going to put out a disclaimer right now.
No, that's fair enough. This whole story could transpire that it really is only going to energize my bike. So just covering our asses at this end.
Yes.
Some great questions coming in, Dale. Peter Simmons on YouTube says, question for Dale. For all of us who buy 100% renewables, we constantly hear about PV being almost too cheap to meter, yet we are paying the price of gas as everyone else. So will it ever be financially profitable to support renewables? What happens to the extra money we pay for renewable energy? Do generators have a windfall? Must be highly profitable to have PV on the roof. Well,
Yeah,
firstly, let's explain PV.
Photovoltaic, that means solar panels.
Okay.
And I've never heard anybody say it's too cheap to meter. It's been coming down in price. I think it's fallen 90% in the last decade or something like that. It's quite incredible. And it's now economic to put PV on your rooftop, which cuts to the last question. Does it make sense? Yes, it does, because you'll avoid energy at a cost of, I don't know, somewhere between 20 and 30 pence a unit. And you can get a payback from solar panels on your roof in probably 5 to 6 years or something like that. There's a bunch of different questions in there and some confusion, I think. There is a link between the price of fossil gas and the price of the wind and the sun, and it is driving up our energy bills, but it is economic to build renewable energy. And some generators that aren't on a CFD are making a windfall when that happens.
Good work.
I think that covers it.
And Peter says, on a personal question, Dale, were you really at the Battle of Beanfield? What age were you in 85? I was on the road in the 80s, ran a mobile environmental developmental film show in a marquee, and got to know a lot of the travellers at the time, including Thatcher's Lawless Brigade. Not sure I bumped into you. I guess you were 20-something in the 80s.
I was. I actually was. And that's quite amusing, actually. I mean, I don't think I met everybody who was on the road. I don't remember a tent with an environment film in it, but I was in and amongst the medieval brigands, the Sun used to like to call us, the peace convoy and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I was in my 20s. Seems like a long time ago.
Yeah. So you're in your 20s. That's like 8 years ago. You were in your 20s. Yeah.
Here's a question. I think at the root of that question must be the fact that I look so young. He's like, were you really there? How could you possibly be there?
Yeah, it's not physically possible, surely.
It's got to be that, isn't it? It's got
some
to be
kind
that.
of time machine thing.
Because appearance questions are like the hallmark of X-Rated Corner, right? And I think we have another one coming.
We do. Gregor says, hello. Following on from the question about asking Wembley Stadium to go solar, could Grid Faeries get in touch with the Royal Horticultural Society about power use at their events? I was at the RHS show at Wentworth Woodhouse recently, and the use of HVO-filled generators was constant for about 2 weeks. This is despite the venue being on the grid and the power draw for the event being fairly small, I'd imagine. It just seems crazy that a charity that promotes sustainable practices in gardening is prepared to use generators to supply to the showground. Also, all showgrounds were powered by petrol generators, which are noisy and polluting. Big opportunity for Grid Faeries to power all Royal Horticultural Society shows.
Yeah,
Imagine Chelsea powered by green energy.
yeah.
That's the flower show, not the football club.
I realize. But actually, this applies to football as well, because when there's a live transmission of a football game, then Sky or whoever's covering it will bring in diesel generators because they want to back up the grid and ensure continuous operation. And I think that's also a scandal. I hear what's being said here about RHS shows and stuff, and you got to think garden lights don't take a lot of power. So I'm with them there. Like the grid connection there will probably cope. And at the moment, we're wading our way through the world of gigs, festivals, and that kind of stuff, facing the same issues. Like there's grid just over the road. Why aren't you plugged in? You hear every year for 20 years. What are you doing about it? The noise, the smell, the air pollution as well. So I hear you. There's a limit to the number of hours I can find in a day. But I'll stick RHS on my wish list.
I'd like to see you at the Chelsea Flower Show, though, with one of those kind of you and Alan Titchmarsh, sort of in a garden, nice little pond, a water feature, some little cacti growing in the background.
Like little gnomes.
Little gnomes as well, and you on gardener. Forget question time, gardener's question time. That's where we want to see you next.
Yeah, that'd be a new challenge.
Could Mr. Vince tell me about my chrysanthemums, please?
It'd be a good point. I mean, it is a good point to make. There are so many outdoor events that just, I say, lazily reach out for diesel when they could, do something much better.
Yeah, fair point. And a simple question from Simon Shepherd on Facebook. Forgive my ignorance, Dale, but what is required to break the link?
Oh, blimey. I think almost nothing. I don't understand the reluctance of the government to do it. We published a report on it a couple of weeks ago, showing the kind of detail of how it could be done. I have to confess I haven't read it, because for me, it's very simple. Every half an hour of the day, every day of the year, we have an auction. The National Grid holds an auction, and it invites bids from generators. And they pile in from cheapest to most expensive until it reaches the capacity that National Grid wants to buy in that half hour. The last one in is nearly always gas, 95% of the time. And the price of gas is much higher than everything underneath it. But guess what? Everything underneath it gets paid the same price as gas. So all you've got to do is change the auction system so that you get what you bid instead of getting what gas bids.
But this comes up a lot. Can't Ed Miliband just change that like that?
I believe so. I believe so. I don't. It can't be complicated. It's it just can't be. We don't think it is. My energy team tell me it's not complicated. You just have to allow 18 months notice so that people can change their forward purchases of energy. That's all.
Shall we move to X-rated corner, Dale?
I thought we were in it. No, we're not, are we? My bad.
Yeah. No, I think the previous one was actually a compliment, but this was, the beginning question about your dalliances on the road. But this is official X-rated corner.
All right, it's getting serious now.
This is getting serious.
Down and
Holly reference a post you put up about Farage or Reform sending prisoners to El Salvador. Holly says, "How about you take them then? They can all live in your garden, building windmills and dream catchers." There you go. It's a fair question, isn't it?
Yeah,
you are, Dale, mouthing off about Nigel Farage. Why don't you do something? Get some like Timpson, the guy that owns Timpson's does stuff with prisoners.
He does. I like the flourish at the end, the dream catchers. That's good. I like that one.
It's all right, isn't it?
Yeah, I like that one. And we haven't worked out the scale of Timpson in terms of prisoner rehab, but we do create space jobs at FGR for our local prison. Well, anyway, that's
I've seen some goals from away teams visiting FGR that frankly that are bordering on criminal. So.
I like it.
Bad decision. This from Cunning Stunt 59. Oh dear!
You have to say that 3 times quickly in a row.
Yeah, don't even make me do it. Who says, "I don't believe a word." This is reference a post about led by donkeys. Cunning says, "I don't believe a word of these left-wing chancers. F*** you. and ally our ilk. I don't even understand the last bit, but I think the general sentiment, the thrust of that is F you.
Yeah, I think that's right. I
Which
think that's right.
might not just be you, Dale. I think he was, led by donkeys and
All
whoever else.
lefties. Yeah, all us lefties. Yeah, Led by Donkeys. I imagine this is referring to a film they put out a week or so ago, maybe 2 weeks now,
Yeah.
which looked at or exposed the activities of UK lawyers for Israel, a bunch of shadowy group. We've spoken about them here before. I have some, unfriendly words for them. I have some bad experiences of them, and they put out this film to show what they were about. Massive Attack put out a call with loads of other bands saying to musicians that are being bullied by these people and cancelled by these people, get in touch and we'll help you do that. And I was like, yeah, and to football clubs, actually, because it's happened to me as well for flying the flag at Forest Green Rovers. They're just a bad bunch of people. Anyway, Led by Donkeys, an amazing group of people, put out a film, and some people don't like it.
There it is. And a final one from Elm Tree Flags on X. You've never had a question like this, Dale. Are you ready for it?
That's the one I've been waiting for.
Yeah. Who does Dale's hair? Is it the same hairdresser as Keir Starmer?
It made me laugh. I read it just a minute ago, and I thought, that's
I mean,
quite...
Starmer's got quite good hair, hasn't he? I mean, he's.
What are you saying? I haven't. He's saying I haven't. Is that what you're
No,
saying?
I'm making. I'm saying if it is the same guy, then all is good in the trichology department. Sure.
But, looking at the screen now, I think your hair is not dissimilar to Starmer's either.
I get that a lot.
Do you?
I get that a lot. Yeah. So people go, "You look exactly like Keir Starmer." It's like, what? No, hang on. I clearly don't look
no doubt.
exactly like Keir Starmer. I happen to have a similar coloured hair, and not a. He's moulded himself a little bit on me, I think.
It could be so. I think his hair has definitely changed. His hair changed since he became leader, and I thought, oh, hello. Yeah. I think he made himself look a little bit more like me as well.
I think so. Yeah, 100%. It's just a hybrid. This podcast.
Anyway, the answer to the question is no. The guy that does my hair is a guy called Gary. I'm just giving him a shout out now.
Right, Gary.
Yep.
Gary the Scissors. We like Gary.
Gary Scissorhands.
Dale, that is it for this last show.
No, wait, because I have a piece of news.
Oh, do you?
You're pregnant. One of the biggest things that happened this week happened just now. Had a great meeting with some people who I commissioned, it was nearly 2 years ago, to convert a Subaru Impreza to electric. And they just brought it round and showed it to me.
Wow.
And it is awesome. It's just awesome. I'm so pleased that it's finally arrived. Only downside is my son, that's also his favorite car, the Subaru Impreza. And when I learned that, I said, by the time you're ready to drive, when you've got a license and all that, I'll give it to you. But fucking hell, it took 2 years to convert, and he's having lessons now. I'm not going to have it for very long.
That was always the wannabe car, wasn't it? When you started driving, there were, you had your little Escort or whatever it happened to be, as I did, and there was always some bloke in one of those, and you think, how is it? That's amazing. They don't hang around either. I don't know about the electric version. Is that going to have the same kind of HP as a
more?
Wow.
Yeah, more.
There you go.
A mad car. I'm really successful on the rally scene. I love them. Flat 4 engine, middle of the car. Great design.
Brilliant.
Anyway.
On that note, Dale, we are done. We're kind of done for this series. Next week we are back with a best of, and the week after we've got a best of as well.
But meanwhile, we're off to the train station, aren't we, or something like that? To
we're
go on holiday.
Exactly. We're going to Scunthorpe. I don't know. Random place. But so we'll speak next week on the best of. But this is we haven't got a name yet for the new series, have we?
No, we haven't.
You must come on. You must have a few ideas in you. Don't spill the beans yet. But
all right.
Well, you can if you want.
I don't have any.
I've got no beans. It's all right.
Yeah. Anyway.
So we'll speak next week, Dale. But officially.
No, wait. You've got to share this story that you shared with me. You were on the escalator in the news building, and
that's right. Yeah, a guy shouted to me, "Cow in the room," and I thought, what's happening? I thought, is that Dale Vince? And it was a guy, one of my colleagues, but I'd never met him before because he's obviously in a different department, who absolutely loves the podcast. He said he came to it late, but what he did, he played catch up with all the kind of previous episodes. So he's with us now, which is good. Not right now, obviously.
No. Best podcast in the world, I think he said, didn't he? Or best podcast
absolutely, yeah. Really loves it, and said for some reason he thought you and I had some kind of chemistry, which I told him was nonsense.
Yeah, clearly.
Clearly. Dale, we'll speak in a week.
All right, see you
And
later.
officially, we are back with the brand new series on, I think it's September the 5th it goes out. So
The series with no name so
series
far.
no name, but there's some really lovely best ofs in between time, including a best of X-rated corner on the way as well.
Ooh.
Can't wait for that.
Come on.
Cheers,
You too.
Dale.
See you later.